Welcome to our inaugural Energy Roundtable. This is a discussion forum for energy professionals so that we may see how to further this cause and ensure that energy is a central discussion in all the plans, procedures, policies, regulations in all our nations, and to ensure that energy takes its proper place in policy making. We are currently running this roundtable to enable us share ideas. It is a peer-to-peer roundtable, and we look forward to running it with a lot of energy. So to start off the meeting, we would like to welcome the two participants from the two organizations that are powering this Energy Professionals Roundtable so that they may give us a word or two. We will welcome you, Chris Mori from E-Innovators. Please welcome the team and give us a word or two.
Go ahead, Chris Mori.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Hello, how are you? Welcome to today's meeting. I hope you're all safe and your families are safe and you're staying safe. I know over the past 1 month, the world has become a very small place because our borders have contracted to only our homes or probably our home fences. It might look like when you visit your local supermarket, it's like you're visiting a whole new country. And I also know that in the meantime, we're doing all we can do to remain safe and to live by the day. I read somewhere today that in some social research that things will be very different when we get past this coronavirus pandemic. Our values might not really change, and we might still have the same values, but we will tend to look more inward to ourselves. We will move closer to our inner circle. We will move closer to our families and our immediate community. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This is a very good thing. But I also hope that as we do this, as we move together, as we come together to beat this pandemic, that we shall develop a stronger muscle for sharing and developing big ideas that will build us a new, better world. This Energy Professional Roundtable is a glimpse of that new world. This is our first of such series of online meetings that we are going to have. The discussion today will help us understand the reality on the ground and find out what, as energy professionals, can we do to add more value in the current dispensation. As Carol said, we want to see how can we also change the policies to suit the new dispensation. As professionals, we need to build on sustainability, we need to build on efficiency, and we need to build on control. These things mean resilience, and resilience will be highly priced in a post-coronavirus world. Well, of course, I wish that we would be having this discussion in a physical meeting, in some cozy hotel with a real round table, with some sumptuous meals and some drinks. But I still feel that this online roundtable could not have come at a better time. This reminds us, and it's a timely reminder, that there is still a future out there, and it is an exciting future. Let's have a great session, let's share insights, and let's enjoy the discussion. Remember to keep safe. Thank you very much. Welcome.
All right, thank you very much, Chris, for that beautiful introduction. Indeed, resilience is the new oil. As we talk about oil nowadays, we don't seem to put oil in the place that it used to be put of presidents before, but we continue to have hope and we continue to believe that things will be better. So indeed, resilience is the new oil. Resilience will be a highly priced commodity, as you have said, and so we need to build resilience, build resilient future, build resilient energy systems, and keep going. We shall have a word from our representative from AREA a little bit later in this meeting, and we can continue with the introduction of it. So we are having this roundtable, this energy roundtable, in a series of programs that we will be running towards World Energy Day, which is on 22nd of October this year. It is an annual event, but because we are energy people and we are full of professionalism. We don't want to celebrate energy just on one day. So in a series, in a lineup towards 22nd October, we are running quite a number of online activities, discussions such as this, talks, Twitter chats, and conversations that will put the energy agenda forward. And once we are able to get out of this restriction that we are in and social distancing comes to a close, we shall continue with our activities in institutions, in schools, in corporates. We have an innovation challenge coming up for young people so they can start to think and conceptualize what great energy ideas there are for clean energy and energy efficiency. All those are ongoing. The theme for this year's World Energy Day is the future of energy in Africa. Innovation, efficiency, and interoperability. So as we move through this meeting, we want to think the future of energy in Africa. We want to think about innovation, efficiency, and interoperability. And our specific discussion today is the impact of COVID-19 on the energy sector in Kenya. This discussion must be had. We must talk about this matter. Here we are. The world has changed. Things have changed. We are in a new dispensation. A lot is happening. We must talk about this. But before we talk about this, we are a group, and every group must be run with guidelines and rules. And so I request our tech support Moses to keep us in order and let us know about the housekeeping rules for the meeting. Moses?
Thank you very much, Caroline. It's a great honor and privilege to be part of this team. I will go straight to reading the ground rules or the housekeeping rules. Ensure that you have sufficient data and a reliable internet connection. Try and make sure that you have at least 1 GB of data. Ensure that the Zoom meeting ID and password, you already have done that. Kindly try and identify a quiet place where there will be no disruptions in your background or in your audio. Log into the Zoom meeting with your official names and title or the name of your organization so that the participants can identify who you are. Only the host has the right to unmute any participant, which I will do when you are called upon to make a comment or participate in the meeting. Otherwise, you will be encouraged to participate on the chat section, which will be opened up whenever the moderator asks that to be done. If you want to raise you want to raise a hand, click on your participants icon, and you can do so whenever you want to ask a question, or you can or if your computer does not have the option of raising a hand, you can have a thumbs up by going and clicking on that on the chat section or on the participants section. Try and maintain good meeting etiquette throughout the running of the meeting. The other ground rules include try and have your video on during the meeting so that we can see who you are. And also, it will also help with networking purposes. For example, if we are able to see your video on, you can be able to be identified with someone when we are not in this meeting. The video is being recorded, as you can all see, right next to my name on the participants list. If you're uncomfortable with us capturing your face on video, kindly let me know, or let anyone of us, like Caroline or myself, let us know that you are uncomfortable being recorded. And each participant shall have the video shared to them after the meeting is done. Kindly try and upload on your video because we have disabled the chat. Yeah, and with the timekeeping, whenever you are asking a question, you have a maximum of 2 minutes to ask your question. I shall share the screen with a red screen. Once your 2 minutes are over, that means that you have 30 seconds to sum up. Thank you very much. Back to you, Caroline.
All right, thank you, Moses, for the housekeeping rules. I trust that we are energy professionals and we are quite professional at what we do. We are the ones that run the world because energy does run the world. And so I trust that we shall keep good meeting etiquette and ensure that we run this meeting in a proper way. And because we are trying to simulate as near normal as possible, should we want to applaud somebody or welcome them or give them a round of applause, we can just tap in our screens. Can we try and do that kindly? Right. And the person who is being applauded, please imagine that you're getting a thunderous applause and appreciate it. So we'll keep our meeting upbeat and well within order. We will have our representative from Aria Finergy tell us a word or two. Jenny, welcome. Tell us a word or two about Aria Finergy and welcome people to this meeting. Jenny?
Thank you, Carolyn. So the World Energy Day initiative is something we're really looking forward to, especially in this world after COVID-19. I think that, you know, it's just so important that we work together, we come up with innovative ways to work in an environment where we've got restricted movement. You know, the energy sector has really just got to keep on innovating. I mean, all of you are innovators just by being in the energy sector. You know, we all have to stay up to date with things. We all have to be learning new things all the time. So learning, educating, innovating is not new to, I think, everybody on this call. And, you know, it's really the mission of all of us as energy professionals to stay up to date and stay ahead of the curve. And boy, have we been thrown a curveball. So, you know, staying up to date and staying on that curve is really going to be something that is going to keep us on our toes and keep us really moving. You know, I think those who lived through the 2008 great financial crisis, I think that was nothing compared to what COVID is going to deliver us. So in this time of difficult business, lack of movement, general fear, it's even more important that we come together, that we motivate each other, we work as an industry and just really stay ahead of the curve. Oh, I've just seen my video's off. Sorry, I thought there we go. Hi, everyone. I thought the admin was going to put me on video. Anyway, here I am, finally, so you can see me. So, you know, innovation really, you know, it's not just about technology. It really encompasses the way we think, the way that we act, of course, the technologies that we use, but not now we're not just looking at that. We need to be looking at doing things like webinars. How are we going to get our clients engaged? How can you do an energy audit virtually? You know, that's the kind of innovation we really need to be looking at. How can we explain to a client what a solar thermal system is real time in their factory virtually? Is that something that we really need to be looking at? So, you know, our business models are changing. Things are moving faster than ever. Technology is being pushed and pushed with this COVID-19. You know, there's always a positive. And one of it is really to have this huge push on all of us to take a great step forward. You know, we're going to save on petrol. We're going to hopefully have massive CO2 savings just because of how we're being forced to adapt and learn. So as we look for feedback and we develop this program for World Energy Day, we really want your feedback. We want your innovative ideas on how we can make this as valuable as possible for everyone. So welcome on the call, and really looking forward to next steps and planning and moving forward to World Energy Day. I mean, there's plenty to do between now and October, not just World Energy Day, but in our lives, in our innovation. So thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you, Jenny. I think what Jenny is highlighting and continues to highlight is our adaptability to change. How can we adapt to change? Because change is here. And as it is said, the most constant thing in this world is change. So as energy professionals, what are we doing to adapt to change? How can we move from change to change without the change taking control of us and devastating us? And so we'll continue to talk about that in this meeting as we progress. So this is a roundtable meeting. It's a peer discussion. We want to hear from each other. We want to share with each other because each one of us in the room are experts. And so as we open the floor to discussion, we encourage that you share and that you give us your wise counsel and that we maintain great etiquette as we hear from each other. We may have divergent opinions or we may have areas that we feel that I am not in agreement with that, but every opinion is valid and we welcome all opinions. So we start with our first question. We are energy professionals. Here we are. COVID-19 has arrived. It is here with us. What can we do? What must we do? What's the reality on the ground? A lot has changed. What are you experiencing on the ground with regards to COVID-19? How has this affected the grand plans that you had as an energy professional in 2020? So share with us. The floor is open. If you want to speak, please raise your hand and let us know. You can use the raise hand button, or Moses, you can enable the chat and we can have people within the chat speak up.
Yes, Vincent, go ahead.
There is a rise in transport, the fare, so it inconveniences us in getting to work.
All right, so fares have gone up, the cost of transportation has gone up, and that is affecting energy professionals out there in the field. We acknowledge that indeed it's quite a strenuous situation right now, especially those in corporate spaces and that are not able to work from home, because not all of the activities that we do, we are able to work from home. So that indeed is a valid submission. The fares have gone up. How do we cope with that? Other contributions from the floor? Right, we have Jenny, who has spoken from ARIA and contributed as to what the big picture is. Let's hear from Sumaya. Sumaya, what is your experience on the ground and what's different from what you had planned earlier?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Apologies, I can't share my my screen with you guys. I'm having some technical challenges because I'm just using my phone this morning, but it's good to see you, Caro, Chris. I'm seeing some familiar faces. Warren, to everyone else that I haven't met, welcome, and I look forward to engaging with you guys further in the future. So just to remind everyone, I'm currently in Uganda, and the Ugandan situation is a little bit different than Kenya, but we are neighbors, and there is going to be, impacts between, the neighboring countries in East Africa. So the first thing to remind everyone in Uganda, I think one of the things that is very different to Kenya is that the entire country has got zero access to public transport and no private vehicles unless you are essential services has got access to transport. Now that has affected us radically because all of a sudden, you now got to use online platforms and doing shopping becomes very tricky. Ugandans previously have been using mobile money, but not every business had. So you found that overnight, businesses had to adapt. And I think that speaks to, the question of adaptability. So we've seen, quite a big shift and a lot of companies all of a sudden, creating options to purchase online. And I think that that's a good thing. So we're already seeing, rapid movement in a very short period of time, just here in Uganda, just on that front. With regards to, my professional environment, I'm working, with multiple actors here in Uganda in the energy sector space. And our physical activities on the ground has come to a grinding halt. But in order to adapt, we're focusing on how can we revise and refine our plans? What are, the elements that we can further, engage on? And I'm a little bit lucky in that sense because this project has got almost 3 facets to it. In the sense that it has a research element, so the research and data collection aspect can continue from a desktop perspective. Then there's a business model, that we've got to develop. So there's a lot of work progressing on that front. But then the physical pilot itself, that, has come to a grinding halt. The other thing that just also makes us a little bit different as an organization and how, we work on this project that I'm currently spearheading in Uganda is we've always engaged and worked remotely. So for us, this is business as usual. So having our calls, setting our meetings, and working in a virtual space is not new. And just to remind everybody, we're working with mini grid companies, we're working with appliance financing companies, as well as a large utility. And I think that speaks to itself in, for the last year and a half, we've introduced a virtual work. So at least this is business as usual on that front. I think the other big thing that we're seeing is a disruption in supply chain. So goods can still come in and out of Uganda, but it's affecting, how you're going to start procuring things. And I think there's a lot of innovation that still requires to happen, in the entire logistical sector. We've spoken with some of the suppliers from South Africa, from Kenya, as well as, China. And we are seeing, longer lead times. But I'm
point of order, Sumaya. You only had 2 minutes. Kindly sum up your question. Thanks.
In summary, COVID-19 has affected us, but if you are proactive, you can, remain agile. Number 2, there's a number of areas of innovation, such as supply chain and logistics is still a major area of innovation that can be looked into.
All right, thank you very much, Sumaya. It is quite interesting to hear the Uganda situation. And I think when we hear that every single thing has ground to a halt, from a health perspective, it sounds excellent. I think that in the management of the spread, that's great. But from a perspective of getting things going and having projects running and having business continuing, that is a bit of a scary situation to have things grind to a halt. We haven't quite reached there ourselves. And things are moving, albeit slowly, but they are moving. So that is quite an interesting perspective to hear about. Any other contributions from the floor? You have a minute or 2 to give your contributions. Is there anybody who would like to share what's happening on the ground? What is going on in your space? How are plans changing from what it is you had planned earlier to what's happening right now? What has been halted? What needs to be put on hold? How are you coping?
Anita, I'm going to unmute you. I see you have a question.
It's not a question, but a comment. We are noticing increased household electricity bills. Everyone is in their house, so the microwave is on every now and then. The water heater is being in use frequently. The fridge is open every now and then. So the electricity bills per month have increased. We are trying to adapt, though not a friendly way. We are using now charcoal. If you want to boil water for everybody to shower, you just light the Jiko ones. That takes care of everything.
All right, Anita is speaking about energy stress. There is household energy stress. We are getting feedback as energy professionals about the sheer amount of stress in the households with regards to energy use. Because of the stay-at-home, work-at-home quarantine situation, there is high activity in the house. The fridge is being opened every 2 minutes. People are cooking all the time. The microwave is going on, the kettle is going on, everybody's showering with using electricity. So there is energy stress at home. This then points to the question about clean energy use, because the alternatives, what are the alternatives to avoid this energy stress, especially when the pocket is pinching at such a time as this? Contributions from the floor?
Ndongo, did you have something you wanted to share? I saw your hand up.
Yes, I did. The challenge we are faced is that in our business is that we had projects outside Nairobi. So with the lockdown, we've had to cancel that. Some of our clients have halted their constructions. Everybody is holding their money because we have to survive this period. So what we have been thinking, like most of the people, is changing the business model so as to survive this crisis. And on the question of Caroline, on how to go about these energy spikes at home, one way we have to look at is energy efficiency, which is, of course, you start with switching off lights or sockets when they are not in use, or even converting your bulbs to LED bulbs. Like in my house, I have bulbs that range from 3 watts to, I think, a maximum of 5 watts. So you have to look at small ways of saving energy, because if you look at renewable energy, it's a hard time for us to go into purchasing systems or energy saving batteries or solar panels and the rest. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your contribution, Engineer Ndungu. I think indeed it is the lock-in, as we're calling it. It's not a lockdown, it's a lock-in, it's a county lock-in, has affected quite a number of inter-county projects. And so as energy professionals, we need to think differently, we need to do differently, which then brings us to our second point that we want to discuss in the meeting. So here we are, this is the situation on the ground. We have had what it is. Our original plans that we had hoped, there was so much hope, there was so much excitement because the Energy Act got reenacted last year and energy professionals had lots to think about and lots to rejig and rework in 2020. And each energy professional was saying, this is my year, 2020 is my year. What do we need to do as energy professionals in the light of COVID-19? What do we need to do differently? Jenny asked earlier, can an energy audit be done remotely, for example? Is that possible? Can all the capacity building programs for energy professionals be done remotely? That is something else we can ask ourselves. So back to the members, what can we do differently as energy professionals so that we don't sit and say that COVID-19 has come and flattened us? What is it that we can do to innovate and do differently? Were there any hands up?
Yes,
Moses,
Clement.
I can see James.
And yeah, and when you have your hand up on the chat box, kindly keep it up so that I will ask. Don't put it down. Clement, and then we'll go to James. Okay, Clement, I'm unmuting you. Yeah, you are unmuted, Clement.
Thank you. I think one of the main things that we need to do is look at the capacity building and specifically on training. As professionals, energy professionals, we need to move with speed and probably start doing online trainings and probably admit or have so many people coming to trainings or attending the trainings and probably paying very cheaply. So as energy professionals, we need to see how we can help our people continue with CBD points and such like things and make some few coins to our kitty. Thank you.
Right, we need to move online and see how to do capacity building programs online. In response to that, and before James comes on, the challenge we are having as energy professionals is that a lot of our programs are highly practical. We need to be climbing up facilities. We need to be testing. We need to be observing in a physical manner. You know, we are very hands-on and high touch, high contact in the areas that we conduct training for both energy efficiency and clean energy and renewable programs. So the challenge with switching online has been, how do we simulate that? How do we ensure that the highly practicable parts of the program are still up and running? So I will put that out and ask us to think about it a little bit as we listen to James. We can have responses from the team as to how do we marry both the online and the physical. Yes, James? You may unmute, James.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I think my comments is that we are in a really difficult times as professionals in the sector. And this is where the professionals now, because your work cannot be substituted online. If you have to construct something, you have to be there. And one area that we really want as professionals is, can you be declared an essential service? And this is what we are trying to get the ministry and the professionals. If you have work to do, because energy is an essential service, if Kenya Power and the rest can be allowed to operate, then even as our projects can operate. So I think the association, Caro, we need to put a document forward that and the names of the people who have projects for the projects to go on in the country. Especially I deal a lot in renewable energy and water. Secondly, when you are dealing with the donor projects, now it is a time to look for the best language to convince the donors that the project can go on without them. So you must develop new reporting structures to ensure that the money can be released without them being in the country. That's, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have to endure now, because we have got projects that have stopped, but there is no good reason. I think the reason is we are not around, let's wait. And I think convincing that I think we are going to live with COVID. COVID is not going to go away soon, yeah? Whether we have 3 lockdowns, 4 lockdowns, infectious diseases cannot go. So how do we continue providing this essential service as engineers? So we must fight for space. We must tell government that if you need a pass to go do a job in Eldoret, be given the pass, because it will impact lives. So I think this is very important now to start documenting the impact of our activity. And this is what will ensure that you get a pass to pass a roadblock and go do a job. If you are doing a borehole, solarizing a borehole, show the impact, and let's see whether the OCPD or the PS will give a chance to go. So I think there will be a lot of interactions. You know, engineers, we don't interact, we do the job. So I think we just have to interact a lot with our customers, more than what we were doing, and developing documents that can show what you are doing, and they can convince someone in Amsterdam or New York that the money can be released for the work to go on. Thank you.
All right, thank you, James. When you see the red card going up, members, it means that your 2 minutes are up, and we need to keep it short and sweet to allow as much participation as possible. You have raised very pertinent points, Ngomeli, about trust, donor trust. That is something that we need to, as a continent, not just in Kenya or East Africa, as a continent, we need to continue to elicit and have donor trust, so that even if they are not here physically, essential projects that are supposed to impact communities can go on. Towards the end of this meeting, we will want to talk about what next and how can we influence policy, government, what can we do in this country? Because as we have seen, various advisory, COVID-19 advisory task forces are being gazetted. The one for ICT has been gazetted, the one for medical has been gazetted. Where is the one for energy? We do not have one. So we need to be lobbying so that we have an advisory committee that is officially gazetted in this nation to advise government on the energy sector. And that challenge is here with us today. Let us not leave this meeting having not put something together that we can take forward. We will have Titus make a comment, and then Eustace. Titus?
Titus, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, personally, we have had an issue because we have a project going on in Kisumu, and because of the lockdown, I had just come to Nairobi a day before they announced that access has been restricted. And now our energy project in Kisumu is being run remotely, which is very difficult. And I've had to actually get even a place to release a place in Nairobi. And another thing I was thinking of, we have a lot, I'm working on a project that we have a lot of power fluctuations nowadays and people need to work at home. How can we get that, like provide for solutions, like when there's no power, someone still has their Wi-Fi on, their laptop on, their phone on. How can we engage stakeholders so that we can be able to create solutions to people? Because I've had inquiries from a lot of my friends, especially people in the middle and upper class, asking, our power is not stable and we still need to work from home. How can you help us get a backup solution to this? So I don't know if anyone would be having a better solution and idea that we can share and we can have a look at that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Titus. Indeed, the inter-county restriction of movement for energy professionals and energy projects is creating quite a stressful situation. I think we really must lobby, we must advocate, we must have a strong voice to enable this essential service that is the energy sector in its totality progress. I think for the oil and gas and petroleum section, there really is no strain because they are listed already in the essential services list. And so work is going on in that space. We need to have it holistically and 360 degrees for everything and everything in the energy space. We shall have Eustace. Eustace, please come on and share with us. Kindly unmute Eustace.
Yes, Eustace, you should be unmuted, or perhaps you're seeing something say our host is requesting to unmute you.
Okay, as we wait for Eustace to unmute himself.
Okay, he has unmuted.
Oh, he has. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, there is this kind of pandemic. One of the things is that we should identify areas which we can really invest on and have to work online, to monitor some systems online. So one of the things is to improve our internet network in some of the systems. Some machines, some systems, you can monitor them online from the comfort of a laptop or from the comfort of a phone. So those are the systems we should now be lobbying to have them either zero rated or given duty free. The other one is we need to work and see, and we need to participate so much on the policy development so that we can have some of these systems zero rated. The other one is we need, because of power, when it comes to power stability, we need to sensitize the community, the staff, and the government so that we can support the idea of decentralized power systems. People should now think of now they can have their own power supplies at their own premises instead of depending so much on the utilities, so that we can leave utilities to the big facilities which consumes a lot of energy. For example, like home, you can introduce a solar PV system. You can have your own energy storage system, which will ensure that you are stable. The other one is that we should also realize that the energy issue is not an issue of energy experts or professionals alone. We need to lobby so much so that you can have a situation where everybody is taught and sensitized about energy. Energy should be in the curriculum of everybody in the facilities, at homes, and so on, so that people can be trained on energy issues. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Eustace, for that very comprehensive contribution. Eustace is urging us to think about digitization of the energy space. What is it that we can do to make things more internet driven, more digitized, more automated, so that we can cut off this the somewhat manual way in which we go about our different energy programs and activities? And so that's something for us to reflect about and think through. This COVID-19 situation is enabling us to really think about how can we move from being hands-on to being digitized. Thank you for that, as well as encouraging us to be lobbyists and activists, which I think it's overdue for us to take our space to lobby and to have advocacy for the energy sector. There's a question that has come in that says, what new forms of communication can we adopt, can we take up, so that as energy professionals, our voices can be heard? We have a communications expert with us, Aghan. Daniel, please talk to us about this matter. Aghan?
Hello.
Hi, Aghan, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Can you just repeat your question? Somebody was just passing near my laptop and.
All right, we are thinking through what kinds of new communication channels, what formats, how can we communicate our energy agenda better? The COVID-19 situation has called upon us to rise above our traditional ways of doing things. So how do we communicate better?
Oh, okay. So thank you, Carol. I think it's wonderful what you guys are discussing or what we are involved in this morning. And as usual, I think communication is one of the areas that is usually ignored. I think in many budgets, if they ever appear, I think they're always the last item. But I think it's important that at this era, and one of the things that we've picked from the coronavirus pandemic is that communication is key. Keep on communicating, keep on communicating. And what we've been using lately is that we are involving journalists on a lot of webinars. I think there's also an assumption by professionals in this space that people know about energy, renewable energy. But I will tell you, like as somebody who runs a science magazine, that one of our challenging areas to report on are on issues of energy. So I think you can pick it up, do a webinar on renewable energy or whatever you want to speak about in the space of energy, because journalists need to be informed. Now, number two is what a gentleman talked about. I think he was an engineer, I can't just remember his name, but he said that it's important that you come up with a statement that you can use to lobby the government, so that they can really see the justification of you guys needing to be out there in the field and essentially uplifting the role of energy at this hour, so that the energy work can be seen as being very important and essential, so to speak. During that, in fact, in that kind of statement is where you can also put a lot of points that we journalists can pick and run with. But again, data is key to us in terms of, Anita talked about issues like we are using too much energy. Right.
Okay, thank you for that.
Whenever I see a red card, it means I get out of the field. But
No,
I think
we
also need to pick some of the points that Anita spoke about. That when we are saying that we are using too much energy, how much are we using? So what can we do about it? So these are some of the things that as journalists would want to hear. These are some of the things that we want to communicate. But over and above, I think that issue of having a webinar that targets just journalists so that the experts can come and speak to us about energy and pitch about the impact that Corona has now that is very tangible, evidence-based. Thank you.
All right, thank you again for that. Energy professionals, as you can hear, we are being called to action. We must be more felt, more heard, more vocal. I think it is important to have a statement made. Recently, just from an environmental space, there's been a lot of lobbying about the eco-lodge that is supposed to be set up in the Nairobi National Park. And because of the activism and the communication and the forward movement of people in the wildlife space, that has been pushed and suspended until public participation can be included in that decision making. So we have a job to do, we have a calling, we have an area to speak into, and so let us not let COVID-19 silence us. It might be silencing health, but it shouldn't silence our voices in the energy space. We are about 1 hour into our meeting. We have 2 more questions to go, and then we can wrap it up and talk about next steps. So we have been sitting for quite a while. I think it's important for us to have a small exercise that will keep our minds in place. So Moses, I will kindly ask you to display to the members the slide with the words. I would like them to take a look at the words. So members, please take a look at these words. There are 4 rows of these words. Please take a look at the words. Look at them carefully, look at them thoroughly, look at them and see them. These are energy-based words. We have lots of words that are in our sector. This is vocabulary we use all the time. We talk to people about, some are jargon, some are simple, but they are the words. All right, Moses, thank you for sharing the slide. Right, members, this is an exam. Schools may be closed, but the exam is going on. So kindly, private chat Moses and write down as many words as you can remember from that slide. The member with the most words, we shall announce at the end of this meeting. And this person will walk away with a gift. We shall announce that gift at the end of this meeting. So kindly type out, private chat, as many words. I am giving you 5 minutes to do this exercise, as many words as you can remember. We'll continue with our serious conversation in 5 minutes from now. Please private chat Moses, and we shall come back and talk about our nation and policy regulations. What are we doing from here? Okay, proceed. All right, you have 2 minutes to go, 2 more minutes to go, only 2 minutes. All right, 30 seconds to go. Moses, I hope people are sending you their answers. Are you seeing answers coming in?
Yeah, I'm seeing the answers coming in.
All right, great. At exactly 11:05, we shall resume our serious discussion about how, as a country, we can build resilience. Okay, time is up. Time is up, members. Thank you for participating in that exercise. As energy professionals, we need to be very sharp on our toes all the time, quick to observe, quick to internalize, quick to memorize, so that as we walk around observing what energy changes we can make, how can we advise our clients, how can we move things forward in this country, we can take a quick look at something the same way we took a quick look at that slide and be able to respond to it quickly and adapt to change. So the question we want to tackle right now is that it is said that Africans don't plan. It is said that we don't plan because of our weather conditions. And because we do not face harsh winters, we don't plan for a season ahead of us. We just wake up as our ancestors did, run out into the bush, kill an animal, grab a fruit off a tree, eat, sleep under the stars, wake up the next day and proceed. And so it is said that we are not good planners, and that other continents are good planners because they have to plan for winter time. They have to plan for a season where there'll be no production. I don't know if this is true, but it is what is said. So as energy professionals, have we failed to plan for a pandemic or a situation such as this? And if we did fail to plan, what can we do to rework our plans? How can we ensure that the impact of this COVID-19 does not become devastating? I can see my good friend Andy Amadi on this chat. Andy, please tell us what you think about how we can take ourselves forward in terms of resilience. Andy?
Andy, go ahead.
Yes, I think the planning part is not something that you do in anticipation of a particular event, because like this, you couldn't see this coming. But it's something that you do as a matter of principle and practice, that you always leave room for the unknown, but you also anticipate and do like scenario mapping of how would we respond to these threats. And I think as energy, we, at least in this crisis, if you look at the list of essential services, energy is one of them. It's an essential service. So we need to be able to anticipate how to react to all kinds of disasters, because they will all need energy. Even if we were to go to an outright war, we would still need energy, because nothing moves without energy. So we have to be dynamic in our thinking, dynamic in our planning. And personally, what I see as the ultimate energy security is to have your own sources and be able to control your own sources of energy. We've seen what's happening with petroleum, the exact reverse of everything that people have ever said or thought about petroleum in terms of its value and in terms of its importance. That in a situation like this, we find that the ultimate, if you are to stay in a lockdown and everything, you're unable to move anything, for example, if it's a much more serious, nefarious threat that can actually curtail your movement, then something like solar will become your security. So I would say that this would be the time to start doing like partial migration. Like there's no reason, I think we're all experiencing it currently because we're all doing these online meetings, and we all see people just drop off in the middle of a presentation because they don't have solar power. So things like home solar backup systems are now an almost must-have thing if you want to continue to be productive. And in terms of also just a global level, looking at your sources of energy and strategically positioning them so that you can be able to have a healthy mix, and you never should have one central point of failure. That if one thing is taken out, your whole system collapses. We need to have a lot of redundancies. We need to have decentralized, autonomous, yet synchronized systems, and information technology makes that possible. And yeah, we also need at an individual level to start really thinking about our own energy resilience. This is the time to say, if we have our mobility that is running on renewable, solar and wind is what's powering your vehicles, it's what's powering your public transport, you are not dependent on external factors. You are not affected by external factors, be they local, be they regional, be they international. So I think energy forms a really critical part of all this. And even in the response to COVID, there's still an energy component that we are happily not experiencing yet, but it would become a factor. If you needed to have 20,000 or 10,000 ventilators across the country, there isn't enough facilities with reliable energy, medical facilities that will not go off because the power has gone out. So we need to already more assertively participate in these things. And as energy managers, we sit at a very vantage position. We do audits in hospitals, we do audits in the military, we do audits everywhere. So we have a good picture of the demand side of energy. We have a good picture the importance of specific types of energy, of knowing that if you're running a hospital, you need to have farm power, they're running electronic equipment that are sensitive, you need to have in power. So we need to be at the forefront of saying that we are enablers of systems that work. So I think that is what I'm taking out of this this whole situation, and planning for the unknown, that even if you don't know what it is that is coming, you have a level of preparation and you have a capacity to respond to whatever it is that is coming. And also an understanding of the role of an energy manager, that you will be critical, you are unseen, but you are critical in making sure that these systems work.
All right. Thank you, Andy, for that very comprehensive response. I think indeed, as the numbers continue to rise, and as our Cabinet Secretary announces every day, we are now in over 300s. We as energy professionals need to ask ourselves, beyond these numbers, what is it in the background that we need to do and that we must do to support the country in the fight to eradicate this and to have people restored to recovery? What facilities are required to manage these numbers? What are the energy needs in the background that will enable the health and restoration of the country? Because that is what we all want, so that we may continue and return to norm. Office has moved home. What is the energy starter pack for any office that has moved home? That is an advisory that we need to give out to everyone is struggling. People are dropping off meetings, as you're hearing, things are failing, systems are going down, energy stress is being felt. What is this energy starter pack for every home, because the office has moved home? Jomo's hand is up. And Jomo, do you want to make a few comments? Please proceed.
I think this should be in regards to the previous question.
Yes.
Unfortunately, our products and services as energy practitioners have gone down, because now consumers, as per research, it says that they are looking for household products, food, personal care, health products, even movies are up there as compared to our products and services. So as energy practitioners, we need to look at other ways we can go about this situation. And one of them is it's a good time to market our products and services. It's the best we can do now. There are cheap ways of marketing. We could also be innovative with how we think about things. Like, I think it was Andy, he said that we can look at how to power ventilators and the healthcare facilities using whatever solutions we may have. We may also want to design energy technologies around home use. Other things we might want to do as energy practitioners is probably go into the space of training, like training people of how to use energy at home, energy efficiency. We can even train the healthcare practitioners on how to use energy efficiently. So it's a time we should think about diversifying our services and products instead of using our traditional methods of, doing business. Thank you.
Right. Right, thank you, Engineer Njono. Indeed, a new way of thinking must be adopted. We must run with the change, and we need to run as fast as possible. We need to be highly energized in our responses to what is happening on the ground. It calls for us to be a lot more observant. As you're saying, the food production side, the food side is moving, because for as long as human beings are alive, we will eat. We may change what we eat. We may eat differently at different times of the month, and in this COVID season, we might be eating in a different way because of stress pockets, but we shall eat. And so therefore, as energy professionals, what are we doing to pre-think that? What are we doing to address that? Because that's a need that will be continuing and increasing day by day. Shall we have Andrew Madegwa? Andrew wants to say something, Andrew?
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I think the solutions to these power issues are there in the country. Like, for example, if you look at the power backup systems, they are there in the market. I think the problem has been awareness, especially to the end users, in that you will find that most people don't know that there are solutions to power problems. And if you look at the power system in Kenya, we don't have a reliable grid supply, power supply in the country. So you see, for the last 2 weeks being in the industry, I've seen so many people, even the demand for batteries, the demand for power backup systems, like for example, inverters, has really gone up. Even the batteries right now in the market, they're on high demand and you can't get them. But the challenge is also, we are importing most of these things. If you look at the inverters, if you look at the batteries, all these things are being imported. So you see that is another challenge. So the most important thing is creating awareness in the market that we have solutions to these power problems. Then ensuring that maybe in the near future, we should be thinking of how to locally maybe manufacture some of these things in the country, like for example, the inverters. Now, there is another issue also that I think it's gonna pose a challenge. It's about the new bill that solar systems or solar panels will be vertible. I think it will be passed today or tomorrow. But you see, I was asking myself, as the energy professionals, what have we done? Did we advise accordingly the government that solar system should not be vertible? Those are some of the things that maybe we need to play a bigger role as people in the sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bwana Madegwa. I think more and more what is coming out clearly is the need for us as energy professionals to speak up, to communicate seamlessly, to have our voices heard, and to be very professional in the way that we put out what we need to put out, because at the moment, the government is listening. Anything that has to do with rescuing the country, ensuring that we bounce back, ensuring that we restore ourselves, ensuring that work can go back as quickly as possible and the economic devastation that's being felt can be turned around, that will get a voice. So as we gather together in this forum and as we are together as energy professionals, let's continuously think about how we can make ourselves felt and heard in the right spaces. You have talked about the need for us to really manufacture locally, for us to think about stopping imports and creating our own homegrown solutions. COVID-19 has enabled us to think a little bit more about that, and we are seeing new and innovative manufacturing items coming up from the manufacturing sector, and students coming up with ventilators, other industries manufacturing what ordinarily they would be importing, because now importations are limited to only specific things. So we need to think through that as well and see how, from the energy space, can we add value in the manufacturing sector? What things are people innovating, and how can we provide them advisory on how to do it in a cost-effective way? Because the challenge with manufacturing, as Kenyans always say, is that it's cheaper to import. People always say it's cheaper to import. But what is the highest cost of manufacturing? I leave that question to you. What is that highest cost of manufacturing, and what impact can we have as energy professionals in that space? I want to talk about how everybody is sharing memes and videos about how climate change dreams have come home. Fog has lifted. Animals are being seen, rivers are becoming clean, and the whole climate change conversation, and you cannot divorce climate change from energy. And so I want to hear the voice of Dr. Angela Mwenda. You have been quiet. This is your area, climate change. What do you think about that in the light of COVID-19, and what can we as energy professionals do in this area? Angela?
Go ahead, Angela. Angela Mwenda, you have been unmuted.
I have unmuted. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, sorry, Caroline, please just repeat that question. I'm very sorry.
All right, we were talking about COVID-19 and climate change, and the way everybody in this space is talking about rivers being clean all of a sudden, fog has lifted, new animals are being seen in spaces that were not being seen before. So is COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, something good for the climate change space? And how can we as energy professionals, because we cannot divorce the two subjects, add value?
Well, it definitely is something very positive, because if anything, as climate change experts and interested persons, we are looking at it as a restart, if I can put it that way. Now, what is a bit of a challenge is what to do after the COVID, because the reason we are having such positive outcomes and things that we are actually seeing evidence is because things have stopped, activities have stopped. Energy usage has gone up, but in some cases has also gone down by the large industrials. So that is a bit of a challenge. Primarily, how do we then move on to maintain the standards that have now been that are now being witnessed in terms of the cleanliness of the air. In terms of climate change projections, if I can move ahead a bit, some of these things will take a bit of time to be evidenced, but it is expected that it will be positive in the sense that, well, in terms of cleaner air means less pollution, means less interruption with the weather cycles, means better planning for food security, for infrastructure. So it's overall quite positive, but I would not claim to have the answers on the way forward, but it's definitely something that I know the scientists are exploring further.
All right, thank you. Any other contributions, questions on the issue of how can we be more resilient as a country? What can we build in place to ensure that we are not devastated? How can we as energy professionals actively contribute? Engineer Dereva? Engineer Dereva, you have a contribution to make? Yes, welcome.
Thank you, but I'll follow up until maybe around the end.
I'm not able to hear you for some reason.
He has said that he is just following up the meeting and he will contribute towards the end.
All right, okay, thank you. We will wait for your contribution. Any more contributions? You can also chat to Moses on the side with your questions, contributions. Before we move into next steps.
Chris Mori, and then we'll follow with Eustace. So Chris Mori, I'm unmuting you.
All right, Chris.
Add up on what Angela has talked about in terms of climate change and the carbon impact, just to add two more points. I think post-COVID, or probably this time, we'll move more into the sustainability climate agenda by trying to reduce carbon dioxide or maintaining to the levels that we are seeing. And I see probably a lot of decarbonization, especially in the transport industry. As you know, the transport industry is a major contributor of CO2 in the climate. And so I see a lot of probably adoption of electric vehicles coming up in terms of trying to decarbonize that sector. So I think many people would want to adopt this technology. I also see decarbonization of the heat market, whereby a lot of natural gas, and especially other economies, is being used to generate a lot of heat. So I see probably people would want to adopt other technologies that don't have carbon, for example, heat pumps, or for example, the use of hydrogen in trying to decarbonize that space. So I expect probably a lot of decarbonization efforts, especially in the heat market and also in the transport market.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All right, so the carbon conversation must be had. We need to see how to use this opportunity to push what we've always been pushing and just give it a little bit more emphasis to see how sensitive are we and how can we have carbon reduction mechanisms in place in all the things that we are doing. In the checklist for all the projects, in the checklist for all the activities, in the checklist for manufacturing, we always need to ask ourselves that question: is this working towards carbon reduction? We have Eustace can come on, and then we'll have Sumaya next. Eustace?
Yeah, at this time we have seen most of the, at this time I'm saying we have seen a lot of carbon reduction, and this one is mainly due to transport industry. And before even COVID came, there was the issue of electric cars being brought into the market. I think this is the time now to prove to the government or to any governing body the real need of pushing the electric cars agenda, creating infrastructure which is going to enable the development and the success of electric cars systems. The other thing is for energy professionals is we should engage more on putting our experience into writing, because we have a lot of experience, but very few people have put it into writing. We better now start documenting the experience so that that experience now can be easily used in policy development.
Right. I concur and completely echo what you're saying, Eustace. We are accused once again as Africans of not documenting. We don't write papers, we don't document, we don't share experiences. I think we should have a paper each from every single person on this forum, documenting your thoughts, documenting what you think we can do to go forwards, whatever brilliant ideas you have, because once we document, then it comes to life. And once it comes to life, then we must have action thereof. Shall we have Sumaya? Come on, Sumaya. You have a question?
Not so much a question, just, something that there are two things that I'm taking away from this discussion, but I also just want to contribute. Something, that COVID-19 is also doing is that, we've got to have much more regular communication, because that is the other challenge with, just having these virtual, platforms, where you can have maybe a team meeting once a week. You might have to, up that. And that is the same with your clients. If you were following up with clients, I don't know, once or twice a month, you might have to do this weekly. I don't know how feasible that is, but that is just something that I want to highlight is communication needs to remain frequent, because this COVID-19 situation, it's not going to go away anytime soon. Even if measures get, relaxed, or, certain countries see, further restricted measures being enforced, the reality is that this is a very fluid, it's a very fluid process that we're currently, experiencing. So that was just one thing I wanted to highlight, is that communication remains key, and you're just going to have to, up the frequency of your communications across the board. I can't agree more with both what Andrew Amadi, stated, and Engineer Ngudu said, that there's many opportunities, but I think the key thing, just bring it back. What we're seeing is that a lot of funders are redirecting funds to certain industries and sectors. So ask yourself as well, how is my business adapting to COVID-19? Am I still aligned? Speak to your funders. I think it was Andrew Ngomeli that also mentioned, how do you give, funders security? But also speak to your funders, ask them, is there room for flexibility? Think of, how your plans can pivot to speak to this new agenda that is being added, because that is something that we spent almost 3 weeks mapping out scenarios and looking at potential pivots that now speaks to, the health and energy, nexus, the agri-energy nexus, that is also another, key sector that is coming to the foreplay. So those were just, some of the thoughts that I also just wanted to share and just contribute, to this discussion.
All right, thank you, Sumaya. You are echoing what has really come through as a thread, as a theme in this meeting. It's communication. We need to communicate with our clients. We need to up the frequency of that. We need to communicate with our funding partners so that funding does not dry up, and lack of physical presence does not create lack of trust. And we need to communicate amongst ourselves. Most importantly, we need a task force, we need a committee, we need something to get us going to move energy beyond this COVID-19 situation. Clement, you have your hand up. Please give us your comments briefly. You were talking about climate change and the need for us to continue in the way of reduction. Yes, Clement?
Clement, you've been unmuted. You can go ahead.
Thank you. I was saying that climate change, you really have to think about it. What I've seen so far is that we've reduced a lot of smoke on the roads, on the air, and everywhere. And even the cutting of trees, now that there is a lot of restriction, people are not making a lot of timber, people are not making a lot of business. And that's why I'm saying COVID-19 has positive and has negative impact. So it is how you look at it. And as energy professionals, let's try and even clean and make our climate better than it is. So as energy professionals, we need to come in where you are, plant one tree, where you are. If you are in Sharks, if you are in a place where you can do something for the better. Number two, also, some of my colleagues have talked about use of renewable energy. This is the right time. Try to have even a small system for your own using a solar system and power, even if it is your security system or even just lighting, so that we can also have our energy being efficient and available to yourself. And let us also check on the efficient use of energy. Even in your house, please, everyone, make sure don't leave things running yet you are not using. Thank you so much.
All right, Clement, I hear you. You say change starts with me. Change starts with each one of us. We cannot preach change if we are not demonstrating that change. We have about 20 more minutes on this conversation before we wrap it up. And so we would love to hear from those we've not heard from before. There are many hands up, but let me select those voices that we have not heard before. Winfred Motinda, please contribute.
It's good to be in this conversation among other energy professionals. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question was on, we know that there's been a projection that COVID-19 will promote, the pandemic will promote clean cooking technologies, or which is part of the energy conversation. So to the clean cooking solution professionals in the conversation, what has been the impact of this to the uptake of these clean cooking solutions? We know that over 70% of Africans lack access to clean cooking, and the reduced exposure to household pollution will significantly increase, will reduce the vulnerability to respiratory illnesses. So what has been the impact of the pandemic towards the clean cooking solutions or clean cooking markets? That's my question.
All right, thank you for that question, Winfred. Members in the House, clean cooking, there are some positive outcomes of COVID-19. It's not all doom and gloom, and Winfred is saying that this has posed an opportunity for clean cooking solutions. Has the uptake of this gone up? Are we promoting it? Have suppliers seen any upward spikes and changes? Or as earlier Anita said, have people resorted to cooking with charcoal and now the clean cooking has disappeared out of the window? What is the way, what are you observing and what are your comments? Whose hands is up? Who would love to respond to this and contribute? You can chat Moses, or you can actually just lift your hand on the screen. We'll be able to see you. Which members have a response to the clean cooking agenda? I can see many experts in the room. Yes, Andy, is your hand up? No, your hand is not up. Maybe you are touching your face. We are told not to touch our faces. Do you realize how much we touch our faces, or is it just me? We are permanently touching our faces, and so I think with this COVID situation, it is bringing to light some of our habits and behaviors that we were not aware of before. James Gomeli, I see your hand up. You can unmute, James. Moses.
I unmuted ICT because he had his hand up first. Perhaps
all right.
he can go and then James can go next.
All right, ICT, please tell us who you are, and I'm sure your name is not ICT.
This is James.
ICT, who is named as ICT?
My name is James from Uganda.
Ah, welcome, James from Uganda.
Yes. I wanted to contribute to the idea of clean cooking, but not specifically clean cooking. I would say when Chris was talking about decarbonization, carbon levels, I would say the positive aspect seen out of the pandemic is the issue of the nexus of energy with health aspects. Because, for example, when Kampala is congested under the lockup, the air pollution has reduced. What does that call us to do as energy professionals? We need to plan for sustainability, sustainable cities, just like Kenya or any other country where there are lockdowns. Definitely, with the vehicles not moving, you really realize there is sane air within the respective countries of lockdown. What does that mean also? It would mean if there are alternative ways policymakers can decongest the cities, even after COVID, it would be so good that you centralize or decentralize aspects like governance to particular parts. But you realize, like most of the countries, like Uganda, you find all governance offices are in one city. Yet, if you did decongest the city, you'd really realize air pollution is reduced. That goes in line with the air pollution for cooking. I don't have much aspects towards clean cooking, but if we look at clean movement as has been forced by COVID, I think that's the way to go. I think we have a lot to contribute as energy professionals towards advising the policymakers in planning for sustainable cities. That was my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, James from Uganda. It is very exciting to have people from across the borders and to hear what is happening on the other end of East Africa. This is just to mention before we go to James, who wanted to contribute, and then to Anita and Warren, that we will have our next Energy Professionals online roundtable on 29th of May, a month from now. And this is the Africa version. So we will have contributors from all over Africa, from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, from Uganda, from South Sudan, from Ethiopia, and from everywhere else that you want to hear about what can we do together as a continent. Because some of the great ideas we have here as Kenya and Uganda that are represented in the House, and South Africa, because I can see Yolanda, who also then represents a bigger group overseeing energy matters in the continent, we need to move forward together. So all the advocacy, all the communication, all the planning, we are always stronger together and better together as a continent. And if there's one thing that has brought focus to Africa, it is COVID-19. For the first time in the history of the globe, people are looking positively towards this continent. So as energy professionals, we need to rise up and speak into that positivity. We can have Anita speak and then Warren.
Anita, go ahead.
My contribution will be, how can we task the government to ensure that the energy-led initiatives they're undertaking, for example, they had the mega project in Turkana for the wind power. We have the same on Gong Hills. How do these contribute to electricity cost reduction? And then secondly, as far as innovation is concerned, how can we showcase or even upscale and make these energy innovations affordable? For example, we have these portable biofuels like the cocoa, we have biogas plants. Now we need to make these ones known far and wide and affordable for home consumption.
All right, we need to speak into government people. We need to hear what's happening. We need to celebrate whatever renewable projects are ongoing. I'm sure we have a wealth of knowledge about what's happening in the wind farms, the solar farms, the bio farms. And so we just need to have our voice stronger in the spaces that we are in and the contributions we are making. James Gomeli, you had wanted to say something? James?
Go ahead, James.
Hello?
Hello? Hi, we can hear you.
Yes, okay. Now, my challenge is the clean cooking, eh? Hello? You can,
yes.
Okay, my challenge is on clean cooking. I want to challenge the engineers in this room. I'm in a project where clean cooking is, we are doing a lot of clean cooking, and I'm shocked that we are still importing clean cooking equipment. So, an innovation in clean cooking, how can we be importing such a facility in a country like Kenya? So I want to challenge these engineers in this room. It's very wrong. I'm in a project where 3/4 of the clean cooking is coming from somewhere. So ball to the association. Thank you.
All right, thank you, James. He's so passionate, as you can hear, and so aggrieved about having to import clean cooking equipment, and yet engineers are in the house. We have more than engineers in the house. We have communicators, we have marketers, we have educators here. We have all kinds of energy professionals in the room. But this specific angst is pointed at energy engineers. So energy engineers in the room, please rise to the occasion and respond to James before we talk to Warren. Yes, Andy, I can see you waving very vigorously. Andy wants to have a response to that. And we have about 15 minutes to go, so keep it short and sweet.
Okay. I think if anything, this COVID pandemic has shown us that we have tremendous latent potential. When the borders were closed, when there were no entrepreneurs, when there was no importation, when China was closed, when India was closed, our own university students came up and made ventilators, and they will be producing 2,500 a month. So we do have the capacity, we have the ability. Our environment has just been extremely hostile. And I think this is one of the things that we have to take up and start saying, we can do it. I have absolutely no doubt that we can do it, the enabling environment. We need to communicate this to the financiers. We are as capable as other people. And I think with the social backlash against China, this is our time to be able to step up. And as energy engineers, energy managers, we bring in the efficiency component. If we bring in efficiency, we bring in economies of scale, there's no reason why we cannot be even exporting this to the rest of the world. I see this as the beginning of the African Industrial Revolution.
All right, and why do I feel like saying an amen to that? It feels like it is being spoken with such passion. This is the beginning of the African Industrial Revolution. I think I came to hear that today. Members in the house, there is no more time to waste. Let us get moving, let's get going, let us create, let's innovate. Let's have young people stand up and put their ideas on paper, and let us support them. Support is not only financial, support is mentorship, support is encouragement, support is thinking through what somebody has brought to the table and giving them feedback. So let's not just think of funding support, there's all manner of support. The time is now, change has come. We will talk to Warren, who has been waiting for a while, and then we'll talk to Engineer Ndereva, and then we can start to wrap up our meeting in the next 10 minutes. All right, Warren?
Thank you, Carol. I think the conversation is really brewing up in a nice way. The points being brought about are very impactful. So mine would just be additional comments. One is on the monitoring technologies aspect. Since we've seen the need for ventilators, the need for continuous monitoring of spaces in buildings, there has been a need for such monitoring devices, for instance, thermal cameras, which need to monitor people movement, body temperatures continuously. So I think that's one of the innovations that could also be spurred locally because of the constraint in some logistics at the moment. The other thing would be the security in our buildings. This is health-wise. Where are we getting these air quality monitors? Is there a need for them? Moving on, if people are already having challenges conducting energy audits, are we going to be forced to now, do more and go into air quality monitoring? But the good thing with air quality monitoring is that it goes beyond just energy. It's giving us data on health parameters, as well as even this data can be tapped into a weather database. If you're monitoring temperatures, if you're monitoring humidity, this is data that can contribute to a bigger database. And so even environmentally, we can now understand how buildings are having an effect on the audience, or on the people moving in and out of them. The other thing would be on remote monitoring technologies for both home and industrial systems. With limited movement, we are having a need to deploy systems that can give us data about the sites we're auditing, the sites we're monitoring remotely. So this could be an important aspect in terms of innovation, because even for home systems, there are people who want to understand how their energy consumption is panning out at the moment. So finally, this could be the start of a benchmarking exercise where with continuous monitoring data coming in, probably there could be an avenue for collaboration between organizations in terms of now starting to look at how are our buildings, how are our industrial systems, how are our homes performing. So there could be a question is, how can we spur local innovation of manufacturing of these low-cost sensors and monitoring technologies? Thank you.
So a lot there on the monitoring conversation and sparring local innovation. Let's harness those ideas, think through them. Beyond this meeting, we must take the conversation forward. Let us listen to Dereba, who has been wanting to speak for a while, and then we shall start to wrap up this conversation. Otherwise, I can see this can be a half-day workshop, but we planned it for a 2-hour. We shall see what to do about extending the time or having breakouts in the next meeting. Yes, Engineer Dereba?
Yes, thank you, Caroline. I've actually been following this conversation for some time. And I think there are about 3 issues I would want to highlight in line with the pandemic we are having in the country. Actually, if you follow up with most of, I'm actually an energy auditor. And having followed up with several companies, they are trying to say that the government needs to drop this as being a statutory requirement. They find it like it's supposed to be a relief, like the tax relief they are getting from the VAT. And it's worrying because there is a time actually that audits are supposed to be too much conducted to those companies so that they can enjoy the savings they are going to get after the losses they will incur from the COVID. But mostly what has come out from my experience in auditing is that most of them are actually not very happy with the utility providers. Mostly, and that is Kenya Power mainly because they are the ones who have dominated in the market. They have very many complaints they make, and every time you get to be directed to a certain office for your complaint is that they are not satisfied. And as a result, with a group of several other consumers, mine personally being a consumer also, is that we formed an association of electricity consumers of Kenya, which is in the process of being registered and actually in the final stages, where we'll be trying to represent the issues of those people. Like, for example, now someone was asking me, why is diesel more expensive than petrol, whereas the government would have scheduled to buy the batch after waiting because they could already see the prices were going to the south. And so they would have waited to see whether they can take advantage. Right now, they are also not very sure whether the consumers have checked on whether really they were supposed to be sold diesel at that amount. So really you can see some consumer advocacy lacking. And in many countries, even if you start with our neighbors, like we say Nigeria, you will see that consumer advocacy is key because they want their issues addressed by an independent party. Like right now we have COFEC, which has not really narrowed down to electricity as a component. And they may also not have a lot of knowledge on what to do with electricity. Like for example, if for fuel costs, for example, in electricity, you'll find that it is always a figure that is given and it has to be adopted by, I know ERC or EPRA keeps on checking, but are we convinced as customers that that is true? Or who will go out there to tell them that actually this is the figure that you are supposed to be, that was supposed to be passed to you, and so this is okay. For example, even for the 5% for rural electrification, was that justifiable, or was it, did it go through public participation for people to agree, really, yeah, that is what we are going to give to our people? So those are issues that after COVID, those are issues that will come up very strongly because people want to see like they have been presented. Of course, we have lost a bit of trust with the government because of various issues. You can hear in there every time that people, like, for example, they were saying the 40 billion have been used up. I heard the minister today saying that that is not true. But anyway, those are some of the issues I wanted to contribute to, and I'm following. I'll be happy to also contribute on 29th of May, giving an update of what will have happened. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Engineer. I think very pertinent points you are raising. I think we shouldn't wait until post-COVID. I think we need the advocacy right away. Let us start whatever collaborations, even with the association that you have. I think this is a collaborative effort. There's no one institution that can do this alone. We can't work alone. We have harmony of thoughts. There are great ideas in the room. We all hail from different places. We've been close to 50 people in this workshop. Everyone contributing from a user perspective, from a professional perspective, from a communications perspective, etc., etc. So I think collaboration is the way to go. So we have 10 minutes. We need to wrap up our discussion. Our next steps on this program is, one, we will declare the winner. So look out for that. And we will declare what the winner is walking away with. So it might be you. Keep your hopes high. If you submitted your responses, we are tallying. The tallying center is in very high gear, and the server will be open for you to check the results once they are out. We also want to just see where do we go from here. So we will have a summary of all the discussions we have had. We will create a report based on the things that we have shared in this meeting. There are emerging themes that have come forward. We will document the emerging themes and share that with you so that you can be able to process and see what are these key areas that we need to talk through. It is clear that we need a voice, we need a statement, we need a body, we need to go to government and we need to say, this is us. Look at us differently. I think it's just basically lack of awareness and knowledge for them to understand the impact of the energy sector in the space that we are in right now. We need to think creatively and innovatively. So we are making masks locally. It's fantastic. There's the factory in Kitui making masks, there's Rivertex making masks. We as energy professionals need to go in there and see what can we do to enable this process. How are these factories working? Is it efficient? Can we contribute in that space? For every new innovation that comes up, there's an energy component to it. So let's keep our ears out on the ground for news and what is happening so that we can be felt and document the impact of our activities. We need to document. We need to look at households, we need to look at factories, we need to look at every single sector. We need to look at inter-county activities. So the list is long and endless. It's been a fantastic discussion. We will give you back the report on how this has gone. The next thing I want to say before the feedback slide comes up, because we really do want feedback from you so that we can enhance this experience and have a more seamless communication and a more seamless workshop the next time. So we shall ask you for feedback shortly. But before that, I want to announce the next meeting. The next meeting was May 29th. Please book your diaries. We will send you the registration form and we shall also send you information about it. This one is an Africa conversation. We shall have speakers who will speak from the different countries, share their presentations, and then from there we can ask questions and then move into breakouts and roundtable discussion. So May 29th, that is the next Energy Professionals Online Roundtable. So if you have great contributors from all over Africa, please let us know. If you have somebody in mind that you feel this person must speak at this roundtable, do let us know. We also want to hear the voice of young people. The youth are missing in this conversation. Women in energy, Mr. Ngomeli, we want women in this conversation. So we want speakers and contributors from every single sector because energy is a holistic and a 360-degree conversation. And so that is what we have for now. We would love to have the feedback form go up, Moses. Please give us feedback. Please send your chats in and give us feedback. We have 3 questions we want to ask you. What did you find important? What did you like about today's meeting? What do you want us to change or improve or include in the next one? And any other topics that you want us to cover. I know we're in the COVID situation and that's what we are talking about all the time and we must talk about it. But there are other topics. In the run-up to October, we will speak about many things as we go along. So about 2 minutes kindly to give us feedback and then we can announce the winner and close the meeting. All right, there's feedback about sending a calendar invite. We will send you a calendar invite for May 29th so that you may book your diaries. Thank you for that contribution, Andy. So 2 minutes, do kindly give us your feedback, send it on the chat or email us or send us feedback. Okay, great. Thank you, Moses, for sharing the screen. 3 questions. What did you like? What can we improve? What topics? So thanks for that. I think we can progress from there. Thank you for sharing the questions, Moses. We can go back to the main meeting and progress. So we will be happy to receive your feedback. Maybe you can put your cameras on. We want to take a screenshot, a photo of ourselves. We want to see the energy professionals in the house. So for those whose cameras are not acting up, kindly put your cameras on just for a moment there, and we can take a photo. Put on your best smile. We are energy professionals. We are energized people. Let's take a photo and tell the world that we are serious. This is Africa, and a revolution is coming despite the COVID-19 situation. So at the count of 3, I want everyone to say energy in the camera, and then we can take a picture. So 1, 2, 3, energy, energy. Thank you for that. So just before we announce the winner, because I know you have been really waiting for the winner, let me talk about why it is important for us to talk and continue talking. And thank you so much for coming today. You have taken 2 hours of your time to be here. It is precious time. We could have been doing so many other things. So this is a vote of thanks to you for spending your time with us, for joining this round table, for being part of this process. We don't take it for granted that energy professionals have come together to speak passionately about what we can do and how we can take this forward. It is in sharing and partnering together like this that we can take our nation forward and the continent forward, because you know, I'm sorry for the other countries in the house, but you know, Kenyans, when we lead something, we do it with such excellence and precision, and the rest of Africa follows. So let us be that shining light, that example for the rest of the continent to follow, and not just the continent, the world at large. We want to apologize as well. At the beginning of this meeting, we did have some Zoom bombing, and we did have some quite unpalatable scenes on the screen, and we had to close the meeting and reopen it. Kindly accept our sincere apologies for that. We have since reworked how to be more stringent on the security protocols, and we have run a good meeting since then. It just calls upon us as human beings to mentor others and speak to others. We can change the world not just from an energy perspective, but from a values perspective. So as we are leading as energy professionals, let's also lead as mentors in the space of having a world that is decent and has values. Okay, we can announce the winner, Mr. Secretary. Who is the winner? And then I shall announce what the winner is walking away with. And if you are a member of Area Finergy, or if you are a member of Innovators, you are not eligible to win this prize. So let me just say that from the get-go. If you participated actively and you're one of us, no, thank you, the prize does not go to you. So who is our winner, Bwana Secretary in the house? Kindly let us know. And the winner is?
Is it Warren who's the secretary?
Warren, are you tallying the votes?
Sorry, I'm just finishing up.
Okay, as Warren finishes up, let me tell you what the winner is walking away with. We are all leaders. We are very clear about that. We are leading in whichever space we are leading in. We are leading in our homes, we are leading in our communities, we are leading in the social spaces, we are leading online at the moment, we are leading wherever we are leading. And because we are energy professionals, and for sure we must make a difference in this world, we can only do it if we lead well. And so the winner of this particular challenge will walk away with a book, Leading in a Time of Crisis. The world is in a crisis at the moment, a pandemic. When we read, we lead. And leaders are readers, and readers are leaders. And so therefore we want our winner to read so that they may lead. And we need sound leadership in a time of crisis like this. And so therefore we walk away with this book, Leadership in a Time of Crisis by Bill George. And may this enrich you as you're in quarantine and as you're staying at home and as you really read in order to lead. Having said those many words, where is the winner? Secretaries?
Yes, Warren, go ahead.
Right. Well, I still have not gotten a clear tally here.
All right, it looks like
I'm working with
But
Warren.
then,
I'm working with Warren to finalize the details.
Okay, I think we don't, the server is still, what the server is doing at the other, we will need to open that server and see what is therein. And so therefore we shall announce there's a close tie. We shall announce the winners a little later. We want to officially close this meeting because it is noon, and call the meeting to a close. So therefore, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. We are now officially closing this meeting. Should anybody want to stay on and interact with each other and network and have a conversation on this platform, we are not shutting it down. But thank you very much for being here. Thank you for gracing this first inaugural Energy Professionals Roundtable. And may God bless you. See you. The servers have completed their tally. And our winner is, drum rolls please, for those still in the house. Drum rolls. Winner is Winfred Mutinda. Winfred Mutinda.
Yay.
Well done, well done. We shall be in touch with you to get the book to you. Well done. Great listener there, great observer, great energy professional. Well done. So I think we still want to stay. Let me end the meeting and see you later. I think Moses, you can end.